to
Hi, I'm here to introduce Brian Caldwell. He's a nature photographer, and in our group, we have a lot of nature photographers that take pictures of birds, of landscape, of all different things. So I'm sure he'll be a major interest. As a personal interest, he helps advertise how with his photography. Problems in nature, things that we can help to improve things. And so he's actually helping improve the world through photography. So I find that really interesting. Having been a resident of Del Dios area on the banks of Lake Hodges for more than 30 years, a concessionaire for 10 of those years. He's currently the Kayaking for Birds fishing line removal volunteer group. He owns and operates a nature photography tour group, Lake Hodges Photo Tours, so if you're interested. And he is the ultimate lake local. He's an award-winning photographer and served as the Grebe consultant for the recent PBS nature documentary San Diego, America's Wildest City. He's an avid outdoorsman and nature enthusiast. He's aware of the local climate, seasons, weather, water management, lake level, and how these components affect flora and fauna in the area. Coupled with his understanding of photography, light, and breed behavior, he is the ultimate guide when the pursuit of the shot at Lake Hodges and the surrounding area. So I introduce you, Brian Caldwell. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Bruce. I can go now. You know all about me now. So first things first, I'm not from here. I'm from Texas. Far east part of Texas. No, I'm from Glasgow, Scotland. So if you're having trouble understanding me, just take a number. Think Braveheart, and that'll help you out. You know? This is basically like Zach said, I'm down the road in Eskimo, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. So there's some information there. I'm from Glasgow. I've been here for 30-something years now, and I ended up landing in Lake Hodges, which is just a very fortuitous thing. It's turned out really nice because now I've got into the photography part of stuff as well. I used to run recreation on the lake. It's me doing what I like to do best. They're over there. There they are. You know, I used to have long hair. That's before my haircut. This is the place we're going to be talking about itself. This is Lake Hodges, beautiful lake. This is an average sunrise anytime between probably kind of November and February. We get that virtually every morning. It's fantastic. For those who don't know where Lake Hodges is, it's basically North County, San Diego. If you look at that map, you'll see the kind of the 15 Flyway on the far left of the screen, the 5 on the right, and then there's the 78 Freeway, is the one that's kind of going diagonally north of the little red box, which is Lake Hodges. When the lake is full, the 15 Freeway actually goes over the top of it, but the lake is not full at the moment. So I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as we go forward. This is one end of the lake, the west end. It's a great place for photography. The little community of Del Dios, where I live, is on that west side. There's an entrance gate there as well that takes you down to the concession, where when there's enough water in the lake and when the launch ramp is accessible, you can actually launch your own boat. But when there's not enough water for the launch ramp to be accessible, you can rent one of the boats from the concession, which I used to do. The east end of the reservoir, it's kind of no more. The right at the edge of that diagram on the left-hand side there, that's where the lake stops at the moment. There used to be, or there still is, a pedestrian bridge actually. It's parallel to the west side of the freeway there that goes across what would have been the lake, but it's now a bunch of trees. Still great for photography, but it's not water at the moment. The dam was built in 1918. It's 208 years old now, and doesn't take much rain to fill it. That lake fills up really fast when it rains. Like the recent rains we had, comes up really fast. I've seen it come up 10 feet in one day. And by the way, I'm going to motor through this stuff as fast as I can so I get the good stuff. You can recreate in the lake. That was one of the deals when they built that dam. It's meant to be allowed to be recreation. For most of that time, it was fishing. And now there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes on. You got fishing, you got boating, you got canoeing, you got windsurfing, other wind sports. There's the new thing, foiling, you do with a wing. There's kayaking, which Zach had mentioned. This is actually my friend Brian Godfrey, who started the volunteer program Kayaking for the Birds, where we go out and basically take care of the discarded fishing line by the fishermen often leave around. And that's not the fishermen are bad people, you know. Some of them are messy, but a lot of them, they just can't get their line back. So our job is to go out there and get the fishing line off that stuff so it doesn't adversely affect the birds. And while we're out there, we often take care of trash and that kind of thing too. I'm now the lead to that because Brian had to throw the towel in, his back's starting to bother him. And there's also mountain biking around the lake. I love to do that myself. And hiking, lots of hiking. That's a view from the west side looking down, looking east from the top of Mount Israel. And of course, there's birding and photography. The photography is amazing. It's just, that's one of the, so location. It really is. There's so much to see. So who controls Lake Hodges? There's a bunch of different organizations. The big ones are the City of San Diego. They own the lake and they own the dam. There's another 26 member agencies total that run the San Diego County Water Authority. They are the ones that decide what happens to that water. However, 23 of those agencies are no longer involved in it, or they're trying to wash their hands of it, because there basically has been a pump station that pumps water from Lake Hodges to another reservoir on the other side of Mount Israel. But because the water is so low, that pump station is no longer operational, which means these other 23 agencies that would normally distribute that water to the rest of San Diego County can't have access to it anymore, which means they can no longer say that the lake is their problem, which means City of San Diego can't count on them to pay for half the money to build this new dam. So the dam is currently in limbo. Not sure if it's going to be a new dam, when it's going to be built, if it's going to be built. I personally think there has to be one because it's actually there not just for the water capacity for using drinking water, it's actually flood control for downstream. There's huge infrastructure downstream of Lake Hodges. You get Del Mar, you've got Solana Beach, you've got the Rancho Santa Fe, a whole bunch of stuff. The other organizations are the San Diego River Park. They're the ones that take care of the trails around the lake. And then we have basically California Department of Fish and Wildlife take care of all the animals. I've just pointed out kind of roughly what we have there. There's we have the main reason the lake is there is because of the water storage problem, or at least the emergency water storage problem. If there's an earthquake or some other catastrophic thing that stops us getting water from Northern California, there's going to be enough water in the lakes in San Diego County to handle the emergency time frame it takes to rebuild the infrastructure that's been damaged. That's why a lot of these lakes are there, including Lake Hodges. Water level is down because the Department of Safety of Dams inspected all the dams in California a few years ago after the Oregon near disaster. Do you remember that one? Where the spillway nearly went? And the only one that failed completely, the one that did not pass the test, is Lake Hodges. So they went down to Lake Hodges, the Department of Safety of Dams, and they decided they're going to drop the water 40 feet. So the water has now been dropped 40 feet. Well, it started off 20, then went down to 40. As they did more repair work, they realized the damage was more significant than they thought, and they brought it down even lower. So now the actual lake itself is only about 20% capacity of water. Still a fairly large lake, but it's had a big adverse effect on all sorts of stuff, including nature. It's a picture here. You can see the patchwork they were doing to kind of take care of some of the issues. This patchwork is mainly for the situation where when the rains come and the water comes up fast, it should be fine. That's the whole reason behind the repair work. So as I said, the launch ramp's now several feet below the water, so you can launch a boat, but it's difficult. There's a couple of different groups of people, and I'm included in some of these groups. We're trying to lobby the Department of Safety of Dams to take into account the issues of water, the scarcity of water on the upstream side of the dam, as opposed to just thinking about what happens if the dam fails. Basically, with the water being so low, there's a very, very significant fire hazard. It's basically a big, huge slab of tinder ready to go. In 2007, we had the Witch Creek fire came through my house. nearly burned to the ground. All of my neighbour, virtually every neighbour in my house did burn to the ground. The only reason mine did not is because we had water in the lake, and the fire stopped and stalled for one night. Gave the fire partner an opportunity to regroup, reorganise. Gave me an opportunity to put a bunch of sprinkler lines on my roof, drip lines, that filled the gutters, and it made my house did not burn down. For real, this is exactly what happened. It's a real threat. So we're all very, very vociferous about trying to get a little bit more water in the lake. We don't want the lake full, we just want a little bit more to take care of some of that dry brush. That was my garage. It was touch and go. If that had gone completely, basically the fire actually, one of our trash cans melted. We had a big pine tree burning balls of fire in the trash can. The trash can went fire. Plastic burned underneath the garage door, started burning the garage from the inside. Luckily, the fire department had given up on the house across the street. They came across with the chainsaw, put a chainsaw through the door, and got the fire out. If they hadn't got the fire out, my house would also be gone. So it's a real threat. So we're as I said, I'm part of a local group called Hodges.org, and we're trying to up the lake by about 13 feet in elevation. I'm also with a group called Friends of Lake Hodges. We're also trying to improve the lot of the lake in general, including hopefully getting that dam rebuilt, or certainly structurally built sound so there's again water in the lake. So they said originally we were talking about 2028, we're going to start construction, and 2032 is going to be finished. But now that the other water companies within the San Diego County Water Authority have kind of bailed out, that's no longer happening. So everything's in limbo. So why the good stuff? The bird photography. Why do we do it? Location, location, location. I tell you, we've got consistent weather. You get easy access. And it's limited access. The lake is actually only open 3 days a week to boating and to going out there in the water, which actually keeps the place wild. There are incredible sunrises, as I already mentioned, and you get your flora and fauna. We get this on a regular basis. Poppies up and down the hillside, beautiful. Blue pine, California lilac, you get swaths of purple. It's just crazy. And the whole hillside looks like a big purple thing. It's a photographer's dream. I mean, it's magic. Of course, you get a little fungi from this, you get the mushrooms. And of course, we have all the local wildlife. The yotes, they're one of my favorites. I see them every morning when I'm walking my dog. The reason I'm wearing this is to show it off, because these things are some of the most important part of my equipment. I don't know if you've seen one of these yet. It's called what do they call it again? What's the name of the brand? Oh, that's a cotton carrier, that's right. And I have missed hundreds of shots because I could not carry this while I'm walking my dog. Now I can. Yeah. I'll have the dog, I'll put the dog, wrap the leash around me. I have gotten some incredible photographs in the last 2 years since I got this guy. Amazing. For the simple reason that when nature happens, you've got to be on it. And the coyotes are great fun to photograph. We have a lot of them down there. The last few years, we've been getting so much more kind of accustomed to people and things. So I think what's happening is we have a lot of development around the area happening, and because that extra rush in the lake, there's a lot of coyotes now finding new habitat that they didn't have before. So we have a lot more coyotes and a lot more resident coyotes. So they're great fun to photograph.
What was the name of the brand?
It's a cotton carrier.
Cotton like is in picking?
Yeah, it's like hang on, like that there.
Thank you.
See it? Can you see it? Of course, other little critters we see around the lake. See these guys. Lots of them during the summer months. And evening, you've got to be careful because they can be dangerous, obviously. They're not out to get you, but you don't want to stand on one by mistake. And there's lots of low brush all over the place. It's easy to happen. But that's a Southern Pacific rattlesnake. We also have the Western Diamondbacks, which are great. They're beautiful. Love them. And rosy boas. Ringneck snake. I had to do that just to show the size of that. Okay. And of course, there's lots of insects galore down the lake, especially during the summer when it gets warm. I love this swallowtail. This was just fantastic because it must have just come out. but nothing was out of place. I didn't have one flaw in any of its wings or nothing. It was amazing. Very happy to find that. And of course, this is when you feel like you step back in time. It's a little dinosaur, little horned lizard. Have you ever seen it? Any of you have ever seen one of these guys? I said they were very popular. They're very, or not popular, there were more of them around. But yeah, a lot of people would take them home with them, and have them as pets and stuff. And also on top of that, their prey has been going downhill because of they eat a larger ant, one of the larger black ants that we have in Southern California. But this large black ant has been the Argentinian ant has taken over basically, so their prey diet has been diminishing. So the populations have been dwindling. We have a few like stable groups of them in certain places around the lake. We came to find them. I haven't seen one in a couple of years now, so I'm a little worried about that. Something else interesting about this, if you don't know these guys, they'll shoot blood out of their eyes. Like the little, I'm not sure why it's meant to be a defense mechanism. I'm not sure how it works, but they actually have little drops of blood come out of their eyes. Of course, we get the non-native reptiles that people throw in. Oh, I don't want this anymore, or it flushed down the toilet or something by mistake, and this is where it ended up in Lake Hodges. We have several of these. And for those that love these guys, now I've got this photograph here as one of the reasons to show you. See. This kind of photograph, it's important to understand you should use the tools available to you. This here's a cell phone. See, everyone's got one, right? Carry them all over the place with you, right? They're amazing. You can turn it upside down, put it on the ground like that, and get this close to something and get an incredible little shot, just like that. That's how I took that photograph. Pop this on the ground, just like that. And you're nice low to the ground, you can actually get a shot of that. You can do that wherever you are. Whether you've got your big fancy camera or not, you can just have your cell phone. In fact, you're going to see a lot of photographs in this slideshow are from this. In fact, that first sunrise. Yeah, oh yeah. Because you have to do a little bit of shopping when you get a nice smartphone. This one comes with a little stylus that comes out, which has little controls on it. It's like an automated phone. You can pop this over somewhere else and use the stylus to take a photograph. It's great. It's amazing. There's all sorts of little tricks you can use. That's just for this particular phone. But now the birds. I've got so many birds. I can talk your ear off about birds. But I'm going to show you a few of the best. The kind of things we'll see the birds you'll see at Lake Hodges. First thing to point out though is it's a globally important bird area. There's a handful of these around the world. Lake Hodges is one of them for several reasons. The endangered or threatened, it used to be threatened, has actually come up with not just not bad as it was, but the California gnatcatcher, a small little cool little bird. And also because it's in the Pacific Flyway, we actually have 247 different species of birds will come through Lake Hodges any given year. That's a lot of birds species for one area. I don't know if you know this, but San Diego County is the largest of all number of bird species in the whole of the country. The largest, it's the county that has the most bird species per county in anywhere in the United States. So there's a little gnatcatcher. They're really cool, great little birdies. Great fun to photograph. When you get a real nice close head shot, you can see they have a little ring of white around their eye with notches in it. And each notch, or each bird has a different set of notches. It's like a fingerprint. It's really cool. And this is the male. The male's more dramatic because it's got a little black head. The female doesn't have the black head. So, as I already mentioned that, I can pass through this one and do the volunteer thing. But I just want to show you some of the stuff we actually run across and we've had to get rid of. This photograph this is when you can use photography as an education tool. Take a look at the underside of that pouch. Can you see it? Yeah, that pelican didn't make it. Couldn't eat. That one we ended up finding about a week later. It succumbed. So that's one of the reasons we do this. We take care of I've found several birds over the years that just didn't make it, and for various different reasons like this. So it's a really important thing. I encourage everyone who's into nature of any kind, especially if you're a photographer and you're enjoying it, take some time, you know, it doesn't have to be long, it could be 10 minutes. Just pick up trash, you know, do something like this, volunteer. It's a great thing. And believe it or not, you feel good about doing it. It's a really good thing. You come back with a couple of bags and you feel, yeah, I did something. That's cool, you know, it's a good feeling, you know. This one, that's a fishing hook coming out of his head. Can you believe that? Oh. So I use this as an opportunity, again, education. It's a photograph of education. Encourage fishermen, sure, be a fisherman, but look where you're casting, you know, because that's what happened here. And I don't know this for sure because I haven't been able to speak to the fisherman who did it. I'm assuming a fisherman caught the grebe by mistake, hauled it in, and he just cut the line, you know, and let it go away. And it didn't seem to be affecting it too badly. You know, it was still doing its courtship displays and stuff, but I haven't seen it this year. But it's not much fun to see. But that's a great thing to use photography for, you know, awareness. You know, I've used that several times for several different things, very important things, at least important to me. And if you want to volunteer, contact me. Got my card now. Don't be shy. So I was talking about the phone. I'm going to talk a little bit other little tools that I use for all the various things I do. I love this. So this, I told you about this thing. This is my favorite, right? My other one is this guy. I should be a salesman for this. This one's called what do they call it here? The cycloneseat.com. First of all, it's like the feathers, right? For those that didn't see that, it's now a seat. I can sit on it. It's a retractable, little retractable stool, adjustable heights for whatever height you need to be. Now, the reason I love this is you can open it up. I can sit down. And the camera. Do you remember the days of doing this? I am now going to lie on the ground. Do you remember having to do this to get the shot? Do you remember that? Oh, no fun, right? Well, the camera's now gone so far. Got a nice little viewfinder. On the sideways. Look down at it. Now I'm getting that shot right there. Right there, just at the edge of the water, sitting here. Magic, you know. I want commission on that. But it's a great tool. I highly recommend if you don't have one, and it's not very good, just throw it over your shoulder. It's important to know your gear when you're going out, especially to shoot birds in other nature, because it happens fast. This kind of stuff often happens very fast. So you've got to be aware of your equipment, what it can do. You know, I often do is when I have to go somewhere for a long flight, that's when I plow through a manual and learn all about my camera, you know. But it's nice to be able to, you know, have some sessions, you know, get used to your gear so that you know exactly what's going on with your gear when you get to the place you're going to be going. Now, the thing about shooting grebes in particular, which is what my specialty, is they're black and white, and the water's dark, and the sunshine, and there's splashes of water everywhere. It's not an easy subject to get and get your metering and your exposures correct. So people ask me all the time when they come out the boat with me, so what should I do? What's the deal? Well, we are lucky. We have been gotten into photography at the time when there's all these great post-production tools now available. You don't have to worry about doing the whole, you know, producing the stuff from film. You know, we have Lightroom, we have Photoshop, we have those great tools for getting rid of graininess and making stuff sharp. Use them. That's what they're there for. So my advice when you're photographing grebes is there's several ways to do it, but basically you're going to try and get your overall exposure down by at least a stop, or at least on a sunny day. At least a full stop, so that when you go back to your computer and develop your photographs, you can bring everything up and just bring your highs down, bring your exposure, bring your highs down. So, in other words, you're never going to be overexposed. See, the important part of this, of these birds, isn't this. It's not this. It's not. It's this. This is what you want to photograph. You want to get that. You want to have that thoroughbred racehorse look, you know, and you see that the texture because it's not overexposed. So what you're really doing, all you're really doing is you're metering to take care of the whites so they are not overexposed. Doesn't matter everything else is underexposed. The whites just need not be overexposed. You can bring everything up. And of course, there's always that balancing act when you're dealing with ISO, shutter speed, and depth of field. All these things have a big bearing on what you can do, whether or not you're going to crop in, or whether you need to. The distance of the bird is going to have a big effect on how it's going to work. If you, for this particular shot, both of the heads are perfect line with each other. So I didn't have to, bring down my aperture a little bit. I was able to keep it wide open, which means I didn't have to bring my ISO up. I was able to keep it as low as I could. So you know how it all works, correct? I'm assuming you all know how this works, correct? You've got your ISO, you've got your aperture, you've got your shutter speed, and of course you also have exposure compensation if you're going to go that way. Some people, I mean, I've done this several ways. You can set it up, you can set your camera up, literally, because you know what's going to happen. At least in this situation, I know what's going to happen. So you just when you first arrive at a lake, you point your camera at a white buoy, and you take a shot, and you get everything set up so that white buoy is perfect. Then you're set for the day for this shot. Okay, that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is set your ISO so it's on auto, but make sure you bring your exposure compensation down at least a stop, so that it will take it will correct for that overexposed shot you're going to get. And there's also a thing about a difference. See, this is in bright sunshine. The other shots you're going to see are there are other shots that are when you have the overcast air or the shadow of the hill or whatever it is. When that happens, you don't need to do that same thing I was just describing. You can actually keep your camera set to a fairly neutral kind of basically let your camera do the work. And let your auto ISO do its work, and you won't get too much over or under exposure. But when you're getting front lit like that, it's a pain, and that's what you need to do. So, just pointed that part out to you. A couple other things I have with my camera. Not everyone does this, and I love doing it. You can actually take your tripod. Instead of having it like this, pop it like this. Instead of having your camera on top, you have your camera below. See the photographs? Both of them are hanging. You have your camera hanging from here. Depending on how wide you make your tripod legs, that'll have a bearing on what angle you have for the particular shot you're going to get. You can actually get it pretty wide if you want to. You have this nice angle, 120 degrees, so you can take whatever photographs you're going to get. And that means you can bring the shutter speed down. It means you don't have to worry too much about camera shake. There's a whole bunch of stuff that works really well when you do that method. This particular shot was taken with that particular method, right there. That shot right there. The other one you can see here is the edge of the boat I have. So when I was shooting when I was working with the guys from Day's Edge, who were the ones that are doing the documentary for PBS, the San Diego, America's Wildest City, there's a big segment on Grebes, and I was the Grebe consultant. So we went out and they had this real fancy gimbal hung off the front of the boat, and they had it all connected with cables and a second VDU that you can look at to make sure they got everything right. And I was driving the boat with a little trolling motor, so it was nice and quiet and easy. And away we went, we did our thing. And I was watching them, like that. It's working. You get some. I mean, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a great thing. I'm not sure. I think you have to be a member of PBS to see it now on. Actually download it and watch it. But for the first month last year, when they actually aired it, it was actually anyone could watch it. It's now airing actually in the Natural History Museum 2 or 3 times a day, every day down at Balboa Park in San Diego. But I think if you're a PBS member, you can still download, or you can get access to it. But the point I'm getting at is, you don't need to have a lot of fancy gear all the time. You see, I am Scottish. And as a Scotsman, my reputation, or our reputation precedes us. We have learned to do things on the cheap. we are the race of people that can drop a penny and it'll hit us on the back of the head as we're going to pick it up. So if you look at that second picture, it's 2 2x4s bolted to the side of the boat with a hole. And you know what? It works really well. You can get the camera down to the water's edge, this far from the water, and you can lean over and you can still get access to the shutter and your back button focus, all of it. It's really good for doing video work. And that's something else. Do any of you mess with videos? Tell you what, you think photography's hard? You ain't seen nothing. Video work requires a whole level of new patience. It's just incredible the amount of time you have to spend in the field to get for example. So they got this incredible camera that shoots 4,000 frames a second, right? And this slow motion shot. And my friend Nate shows me the shot, and I'm like, oh, that's incredible. You know when you're walking in snow or ice, and you get that, and it looks like it's sparkling, you know? Well, I was doing that. It's like sparkling at you. There's these Grebes running right at the camera with the front lit. Perfect, everything. They couldn't use it in the movie because everything else was shot in the shade. You know, I pull my hair out. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, you can do it. So that's it's a different kind of patience for film work. It's amazing. Anyway, so back to some other opportunities at the lake. This is you got to be careful. You know, they're really actually king snakes can be really kind of territorial and aggressive, you know. And I used my phone to get this shot. I did that. What I was showing you, you know, put it on the ground, and I was really kind of worried. I was really kind of scared. That photograph, this phone, that was it. So I'm going to quickly scroll through a few different birds you can see here. We start off with the raptors. Lake Hodges has a whole slew of different raptors, which are really cool. I don't know if you're into birds of prey. My wife she's a professional. She's a master falconer. She works at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. She's a supervisor of the birds. And we've had many birds over the years at home. So I was naturally into the raptors right from the get-go. We had some immature Cooper's hawks fledged a couple of years ago, and this was great. It landed right outside the door, and it's just starting to get stuck into a crow. It just taken a crow. And the young ones already, they're very, they're kind of brazen and not very shy. They're happy. I was able to get as far away as here from the bird. He's like, oh, yeah. And we've got ospreys. Ospreys are great. Their feet are so huge and great. They're just great subjects. I wanted to show you this photograph just so you can see the size difference. We have red-shouldered hawks and red-tailed hawks. The red-tailed hawk is the one in the lower one. It's an immature bird. And it was just flying by. It just kind of minding its own business, and the local red shoulder was like, oh yeah? And I just happened to, you know, again, it's all to do with having that camera fast so you can get the shot, you know. Now these in here so you can see the difference between the male and the female. They have different plumage. The male has you can see on the top of the wings are grey. The female does not have that. The male is the one that's on the left of the picture. The female's on the right. Not many birds have this. There's a handful of raptors have it. This is one of them, and there's one of the smallest raptors, the kestrels. They're a type of falcon. Next, we have the northern harrier. If you look at that bird, it has a different thing going. It has that facial ring, not unlike an owl, because it also uses its ears as much as its eyes. For those that don't know, but I can talk your ear off about this stuff. Ear off. What happens is this facial disc amplifies the volume to its ears. It's specifically on owls, because owls do this mainly in the dark. But the harrier also has that same thing going on with its ears. When you watch them hunt, you can see it. They're very low down, checking stuff out and listening as well as looking. We have the great horned owls. They're nesting at the moment. We've had several nests over the years, and the great horned owls are squatters. They don't build their own nest. They'll use the nest of one of the other raptors that's fairly large, like your red tails, red shoulders, Cooper's hawks. They'll take over one of their nests. And we were lucky a few years ago. We had screech owls on our property. They're a tiny little owl about the size of my fist. Great things. We put the box up. In the first couple of years, we had starlings. That was, oh, look, starlings. And then finally, some screechies moved in, and it was great. We had 4 seasons, and then one of our trees fell over. It became too exposed, and they haven't been back since. We still hear them around, but we haven't had them back in the box yet. The female had a bum eye. That's a bummer. She was it's a shame, but didn't seem to affect things. They had several years of 3, 4, 5 chicks. Another great raptor we have usually hangs out usually November, December time. We get the white-tailed kites. They're just great subjects. They're beautiful birds to photograph. And of course the falcons, peregrine falcon, the one that everyone knows about. They don't nest at Lake Hodges. If you're ever interested in seeing something really cool though, just hit me up, because there's down at Torrey Pines, there's a pair of falcons that are, well, specifically the female. When the pelicans go by close to the nest, she goes at them, and it's an incredible thing to witness and behold. And everyone, it's one of those bucket list shots for people who want to get that photograph. And I've got several of them myself. It's a great experience just to do it. There's 2 kind of experiences. There's one when the chicks are still in the nest, they've not yet fledged, and then that's when she'll take the female and the male sometimes will go out and nails the pelicans if they get too close to the nest. And then the other great shots are when they fledge. You can actually go to the top of the cliff, and the the young fledglings are very curious. They'll fly by as far away as we are, just checking you out, and then you get all these great photographs of the young pelicans. It's a great experience. And of course, we have bald eagles. The bald eagles don't reside at Lake Hodges. There's several nests in San Diego County now. The one I'm most familiar with is the one at Lake Wolford. There's actually 2 nests right next to the lake, and the eagles actually they toggle between one nest and the other. Last year they were in the other nest that they're in this year. But I watched them several years, and they're great fun. And you come down to the lake. Sometimes you see immature birds as well. Another great bird to photograph. Now I'm going to the smaller birds. We've got all the swallows that you normally see around Southern California. We got the tree swallows, the barn swallows, the cliff swallows, the northern rough-winged swallows, and occasionally we also see the violet green swallows, which are all beautiful. And when you're out in the boat, you can get stuff like this. This was unusual. The tree swallows don't usually nest around. They usually nest further north. They don't nest in San Diego. But we found this young chick being fed, sitting on a little stick, and I'm like, hang on a minute. So where it actually nested, I do not know, or unless they maybe flew in. But it was so young. It was just a brand new fledgling. I don't think I must have nested here. This is a cousin of the California gnatcatcher, a little blue-grey gnatcatcher. They're beautiful birds as well. I love the little droplets of misty water ended up on the leaves in this shot. These are the winter guys. We know winter has arrived when the white-crowned sparrows arrive. They're great fun to photograph. I'm going to show you some of the cool stuff about things like Photoshop and some of these new tools. So this ruby-crowned kinglet, a hard shot to get with its crown up. This shot actually had a whole bunch of branches in front of the body of the bird. You wouldn't know it though, would you? You can do that now. You can tidy it up. The important part was that it had its crown up. That was the important part. That's what I wanted to get. But it was happening in amongst a bunch of brush, So I was able to tidy up and ba-ba, Got to use these tools when you can. It's great. I mean, You won't, obviously, you can only get the shot if you're not sitting on the couch at home. But that's, you got to use these tools. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Don't use some of the technology that's there for you. Don't ruin the shot. Just do what you need to do to make it feasible. This little yellowthroat, nothing, no Photoshop or nothing. I was down to photographing the Grebes, and this little fella come over and he's like, "Oh, there's some nice little bugs next to this bit of stick that was right next to me." He was like there. Yeah, it was like literally right next to me. It was great fun photographing him. Because it'd been so still for so long, trying to get photographs of the other birds, he just wandered on over. That's another great thing about nature. If you're patient, things will happen. It's one of my favourites, the quail. We have lots of California quail, several coveys. The Dios, the region in which I live, the little community in which I live, it used to be a quail preserve, because in the day they'd encourage them, they'd try and encourage them to do well because they'd hunt them, But there's still a lot of quail, little coveys around the neighbourhood, and get lucky, you find them in really cool places. And this one was doing this little, "Hey babe, it's me," getting all noisy, doing his courtship thing. This is the time of year, by the way, when it's all happening. There's so much courtship activity going on right now. You just hear it. And by the way, that's another thing. They call it bird watching. It should be called bird listening. That's when you hear it before you see it. In fact, I'll tell you a little bit about that when we get to this guy. And there's one of my acorn woodpeckers. We have lots of them. They're a gregarious bird. Great fun to photograph. They're just a great subject, And this photograph itself has got all that texture, and the kind of fungi on the. I just love that shot. And then it pops because there's a little red and white guy right there. And they're gregarious in that the chicks are reared by the whole group, but they're only, there's only one parent, or one set of parents, like lay the eggs and look after them. But once they hatch, the whole family looks after them. And they'll use the same nest hole again and again. Not necessarily the same one each year or year to year, but they'll come back often to one they used before. So they're easier to find, so they're actually not too hard to find to take photographs of. This one, on the other hand, the Nuttall's woodpecker, far more shy. They build a new nest every year, so you have to find the nest. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this shot. So, that tree that I was telling you that fell down on my property and the screech owls disappeared, so that tree was all rotten. And I cut most of the branches and stuff off, and it was about a chunk about this wide. And it was kind of rotten, I thought, who knows? I leaned it against the fence, thinking, the chances of something using that are 1 in a million.
No.
Right, yeah, for real. This is exactly what happened. I got this because of that. It was amazing. So that was really cool. These guys, spinifetlers, they're just a great subject to photograph. They're desert birds, but you have a handful of them will come to the lake in the neighbourhood where I live, and also at the lakeside. This particular shot was a few years ago. The male and the female were working in one nest for 2 years back to back, so I was able to get right in there and have a really great time photographing them. We have red-winged blackbirds going down every year. They're starting to arrive now. You've got them in the tulies. They're just great fun to photograph. Very noisy. And back to that location thing. That reflection you get in the water, you get that virtually every morning, for an hour or two. And there's certain parts of the lake, certain times of day, that you get a lovely front-lit, beautiful reflection. Landing gear down, wow. That's great fun. It's just fun. It's just fun taking these photographs. Being out there and doing it. Even watching it, whether or not you get a good photograph, it's just fun to do. And of course, we have double-crested cormorants. This is one of the few males we get around the lake. You don't see them that often. But what I love of these birds is the eye. The eye is amazing. Gorgeous, turquoise blue. This one's interesting. Great blue herons. They predominantly eat fish, but they don't only eat fish. This is a gopher. And what it went on to do is it got it wet when it was down there. It worked it for a good 5 minutes, getting all wet, so that it went down easy. For real, I watched it. It was a good experience. We've got the night herons. There's plenty of them. The black-crowned night herons. The interesting thing about the adults and the kids is they have slightly different plumage. This is a younger juvenile. They'll have that plumage for a year. You know, they'll get the black and white thing. And of course you have the Audubon shot. You know, everyone likes to get at least one of these in the course of their photographic experience. You know, and we have it's coming up this time of year. We start to get the egrets. They have their breeding plumage, where they have that area there, but next to their bill, the cere starts to go like green, and it's just really cool. You know, another great thing. Now this is the great egret. The next one is the snowy egret, the small one. The easy way to discern them is obviously the size difference. The snowy egret is a lot smaller, but you notice the bill on the snowy egret is black. The bill on the great egret is yellow or orange. And interestingly, you don't see the feet in the other bird, but the other bird has the dark feet, yellow bill, and vice versa with the snowy. This another bird we have at the lake, bittern. You don't often see these. This is I love this photograph because this is actually the photograph. You usually hear them in amongst the tulies, and you get maybe you're lucky if you get the eye because it's way in there. This one, as I was coming to the dock one day with a client, I was standing up in the boat just about to tie it off, and I still had my camera in my hand, and it just, oh, yeah. And it's like, oh, and you never see that plumage of the wings all fanned out like that. That was great. I loved that. Well, white-faced ibis at the lake too. They're great subjects. And back to the whole reflection water thing. Man, it's just magic. Oh, it's just a great thing. It's so much fun taking these photographs. It's just a joy. Eared grebes. I was talking to Russ about going up to the Sierras. You ever want to see hundreds of thousands of these in breeding plumage? Go up to Mono Lake pharaohs, and the ear grebes will come through by hundreds of thousands. And it's usually August, September time. Or is it September? I think it's September. I've never actually seen the huge groups of them because I've always been too early or too late. But there's lots of them up there. And of course, it's this time of year we're going to see this. Lots of this. Chicks. Favorite subjects. The owls, great horned owls. See that nest is previous year was the red-shouldered nest. And they got the face only a mother can love. And anything could. Red-tailed hawks, all the eagles. That was up at Wolford. And of course, grebes. Now, the important thing to note here is some people say you should not be taking photographs of nests. I completely disagree. As long as you're not disturbing them, as long as they're doing their everyday behaviors and they're not, then who cares? You're not getting in their way. You're not doing their. In fact, you can only get good photographs if they're continuing on with their natural, normal behavior. If you're doing something wrong, you won't get the photograph. Because they're not going to be doing what they would normally do. So yeah, you can photograph nests. You got to be careful. You got to be cautious, and you got to be thoughtful. Don't be doing stuff. Don't be like the bull in the china shop. No, you got to be. But you can do it. The grebes are obviously the chicks right in the back. Great fun to photograph. It's another kind of one of those shots that, bucket list shot a lot of people want to get. It takes so many people out to get this kind of photograph. I'm going to talk now for the next few moments. The last little bit of this presentation is all about the grebes because that's really what I've really specialised in. There's two types of grebes. You get your Western grebes and your Clark's grebes. They're very similar in appearance. This one is the Western. And occasionally you can get incredibly amazing shots. So I hardly ever go out in the afternoon because the light's it's usually windy. There's a lot of chop in the water. It's usually in the morning is when you go out. But we had a fire in Alpine, and all the wind was an east wind, and it was blowing all this smoke over Lake Hodges, and the sun was starting to set and had this crazy orange sky. So I thought, I'm going to see what's shaking. So we're out the boat, and what you see here are little particulates that were floated in the water, like little insects, bits of this, bits of that, just catching the reflection of the orange sky. That's the photograph. Yeah. You won't get that if you're sitting on the couch. Right? And I didn't know I was going to get that. I went out the following day trying to duplicate it. Not a chance. This is a 1 in a million. You know, I could not get that shot again. But it was so much fun to do that. Again, I don't usually go in the afternoon, so that was an afternoon one. So here, if you look at these two shots, you can see there's I mentioned the Clarks and the Western. So who remembers, who knows which one's which?
Clarks on the left.
Excellent. Now, can you tell them why?
Yes, because the white comes up, the eye is in the white instead of the eye being in the black.
Perfect.
Ah.
You look carefully, and I'll show you another one. You can see it a little better. The one on the left is a Clark's Grebe, the one on the right is a Western Grebe. So the easiest way to discern the difference is the position of the eye relative to the black cap of feathers on the head. Excuse me. Also notice that the Clark's Grebe has a far more orange bill. They're more, and it's kind of a little more contrasty. I prefer, actually, you know, my favourites are the Clarks, but I think they photograph really well. It's my own personal opinion. But now, the thing that everyone wants to photograph is that classic rush. That, you know, when they do that. And the reason I go out with many people is because I've learned over the years the precursors, the tell, what makes it happen. And this is the most common one. What they do is they come together, pop their heads down, and they start slapping the water. That. And the thing that's really important is they're making a lot of noise when they're doing it. It's the noise I listen for. If I can hear them doing it, then it's probably going to happen. Or at least I'm going to find the pair that are doing that. Now, all of the times they do this, usually about 50% of the time, they'll go and rush. And there are two distinct different types of rushes that go on. I see they call it rush. That's just some call it. I think you run in the water, but it's been called rush. So I have to go with the majority. They call it rush. And during the first part of the season, when because they're migratory birds, they'll come in from different parts of Northern California. Some of them are, because of the nature of these reservoirs, and they've been here so long, the ecology is it's sort of changed in that there are now sedentary birds that don't leave, but there are still lots that do come in. And when they come in, there's a little bit of territoriality going on. The chest thumping, oh, hey, you know, who are you? And they'll do these short, aggressive kind of rushes. It'll be 2, 3, 4 birds. Maybe a couple of guys, a couple of girls, or a girl and a guy, but they're still sorting it all out. And that's a great time to get photographs because there's lots of it going on. Lots of it's happening. As the season progresses, they start to pair off, and then you'll start to see less of the activity. But when they do it, it's far more consistent and long. You run across the water longer, and you'll notice that there's a male and a female, not necessarily 2 males or 2 males and a female, or it's actually specifically a male and a female. If you look closely at this picture, there is a difference. This is the male, that's the female, because everything about the male is ever so slightly bigger. Bigger head, bigger chest, bigger beak, all of it. The males are just a tiny little bit bigger than females, both the Clarks and the Westerns. That's how you can discern the difference. And you can really only see that when they're together, you know. So anyway, that's the precursor to the rush. And I think if I can get, this is a movie. Can I get this movie playing, Bruce? Do you know?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if we can get it. It looks like it's just a still.
Yeah.
You'll have to come out with me. But then you got the piece of that shot right there, and then of course you have the side on, which is another great photograph. And that's back to that thing I was talking about, using your photographing technique. When you keeping your aperture, don't have it wide open. Otherwise, that bird in the background's eye won't be in focus, and the one in the front will. Need them. You want to have them both in focus. Yeah, need a little bit of depth of field, and of course that depends on how far away they are from you. The further away they are, the easier it is. The closer they are, and more, it gets more critical, because they're, that depth of field. And another great little trick to do is when it's not sunny, the weather's terrible, and you can't really get that shot because it's you just don't have enough light. Go for this. Go for this little shutter pan. you bring your shutter speed down to about 40th of a second, 30th or 40th. And if you have a nice dark background, or kind of like really busy background, you don't want to do this when the background's lovely, beautiful. You want something that's all messy, so that when you move, it does that. It looks like that, you know, like it's got that speed thing. It looks fast. It's that's something to do when you don't have the sun. There's other aspects of their behavior. Immediately after doing the rush, everyone's like, oh, you know, chimping, you know what chimping is, right? Have you heard of that expression yet, folks? You know? Oh, you're joking. You don't know what chimping is?
I don't know what
great. I love to show people this because I see it with clients every time. This is chimping. Okay, I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to look. And that's where it comes from. There's a lot of people that get that rush and then they miss this. This is what happens usually immediately after, not all the time, but a lot of times after the rush, they'll do this parading thing. And it's a great shot in itself. It's another great one to get. And they also do this kind of synchronized sort of preening thing where they tap the back of their wings. And again, this is one of these shots that's great to get. They're very seldom they're doing it exactly the same time. So you're going to be taking bursts of photographs, and then hopefully you're going to get one where they're both right there, and when the sun's on their eye, and they're just in the right position. And if you're lucky, you get Clark's doing it too. And then the next thing, they're taking it to a new level now. Hey there, babe. We don't save with flowers, we save with weeds. What happens often after one of the rushes is it's not as easy a thing to spot, but a pair who have gotten beyond the kind of territorial rush and kind of starting to pair off. After they do the rush, they'll meander off in towards the tulies, to the weeds, and both of them will dive and disappear, and they come up with these weeds in their bills, and then up they come, and they start to do this really elaborate, cool little circular dance. Actually, it's a really good video. I've got the feeling the video is not going to work. Oh, wait, hang on. Maybe. Nope. Oh, hang on. Maybe it will.
Just click it once.
Oh, there you go. Now, this video actually has music with it, but we're not getting music, which is a bummer. It's a shame because it's my band playing, and it's a very appropriate tune. So that's the Westerns doing it, and the Clarks are also doing it. Weed dance or weed ceremony, sometimes call it. It's a cool, and it's amazing the amount of energy that's required for that. They're keeping themselves completely raised out of the water. You know, it's cool. And this is when I get to see, because there's no music here. It's a real shame because the last time I was here in Redlands was when I was playing the Redlands Bowl. Yes, with my band. Yes. Highland Way, if you're interested, we're playing on St. Patrick's Day down in Escondido, Centre for the Arts. Better plug that, you know.
Nice.
Oh, where do we go to the next slide? How do we get to the next slide? No, we're not getting to the next slide. Let me figure this out. There you go. There. Okay. So once they've done that, then they're kind of proving that hey, I can do this. I've got weeds. So now it's time to build a nest. So they'll start buzzing around, building a nest amongst the tulies, and they kind of somewhat semi kind of floating platforms. They nestle them in amongst other kind of brush. Sometimes tulies, sometimes brush that was at one point it was a bush. Now because the water come up, it's submerged. So they go in amongst these places for safety and for security. See them continue to build a nest. And ooh la la, yeah, hello there. Let's make some babies. And there they are, sitting on the nest, incubating eggs. Yeah, gotta keep getting on. They're always bringing in some stuff. That's another movie, but I don't think I could show it. And then finally, ta-da! They hatch. and they live on the back of their parents for the first 2-3 weeks. And that's just a magic little thing to see. I don't know if you noticed, there's a little red patch, no feathers, on that one bit of head on the chick when they're very small the first few days. When you get excited, when they're being fed or when things are happening, the red shines or gets very pronounced, and you can see it. It's a great photograph to get. They get fed as they're getting older, once they move away from the nest. And they actually also get fed feathers. Look closely at that. You see, that's a feather parent is giving to the chick, the very end of its beak. See that? And what it is, the theory is that it's going to help with their digestion. Because they basically eat fish. They're eating a lot of little fish. There's all those bones and stuff. So the feathers are going to help with the passing through of the fish. This is one of the problems we've encountered at Hodges. I'm not going to get into too much depth because I'm running out of time here. But basically, when the water level drops too quickly, if you look at this cycle here, normal nesting, water drops further, and then you have a problem with field nest. All of that happens in one 24-hour period. These birds cannot do a vertical hop. Once the water goes down like that, they can't get back up. Eggs fry in the sun. I saw 160 nests gone, just like that. Can you imagine someone walking down the La Jolla shores and kicking all those cormorant nests into the water? That's the equivalent of what the city of San Diego did. And we kicked up a big stink, and we finally got some sort of resolution where they actually let a few populations or nesting cycles go through. But anyway, it's one of the things I've been very, very vociferous about. If you want more information, as I say, we're running out of time here. I just want to let you know that I'm very involved with that. You see, this water is an area where they were nesting, and a couple of, like when you drop the water, that just becomes barren dirt. Anyway, there's various different solutions. Floating platform is the way to go. It's really not that complicated. Trying to organise it with the city. Hopefully one day we'll really get that going. And that was a prototype we checked out. It was working, and what ends up happening is that actually vegetation starts to grow around it. It even becomes a floating actually a micro ecosystem. See, 2019, 167 pairs, 13, 2 years ago. Overall impact. So yeah, I can talk your ear off about this stuff. Very frustrating. Dealing with bureaucratic organisations that care nothing about anything other than water. They don't care about the wildlife. They don't care about fire danger. They don't care about the various other things. So that's something I'm very much involved in. But you know, they are resourceful. Given the right conditions, that happens. You get that, and they're great fun. It never gets old. I love going out and photographing these guys. You get a little older, the eye starts to go from black to the red, the signature red. Before you know it, they're starting to get a little older, but you know, there's some of these chicks just don't ever want to stop. They just get, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. You know, this is like the 30-year-old that never leaves home. Finally they do, they learn to feed themselves. And then you guys all come out and take photographs of them. And if you're lucky, you get to see this. Great documentary. I was very honoured to be part of. So you can stay informed. Go to my website, check it out. Support my efforts for the conservation I do by taking a tour, or if not, just you know, fire a few questions. I can help you. I can point you in the right direction and where to go in San Diego County. I'm the admin for a Facebook group called Photo Birding San Diego. So if anyone wants to go photograph any birds in San Diego County, I can tell you where all the good stuff's happening. You can even go on to join the group yourself if you're a Facebook person. That's me. And if you have any questions, now is when you ask them. Yes.
And what time of year are we talking about? Like for
So I love that question. So I've seen them nest as early as January and as late as October. Yeah, I know. So it's really it's a crapshoot, really. And it really depends a lot on when the rains come, how much rain we get, whether or not you're going to. They're even will nest. They didn't nest last year at Hodges. I found chicks up at Lake Henshaw last year, and the year before that They did nest at Hodges, but they also nested in Otay, right down by the border. And Lake Wolford, where I get a lot of the courtship activity, they don't nest there much. There might be one nest, maybe, not many, because there's so many fishermen that have no idea what's going on. They'll just wander. They'll just bring their boats right to the area where the birds are anticipating nesting, and the birds won't nest. If they get a nest built before that happens, then you're good to go. But they won't build them. Someone's right there, you know.
So what's happening right now?
Right now, the courtship has been happening for the last month. I haven't had a morning off. I've been busy. It's been great. It's been really good, actually. There's a couple of things that cause it to go a little. Santa Ana's, where the birds don't really do much in the way of courtship displays when the Santa Anas are blowing. And also, as I discovered recently, when a front was coming through, I had one couple that came out with me, gentleman and his wife. His wife was a photographer. He was just a bird guy, and he was really into it. And I've never seen someone do this. He counted every time there was some courtship stuff going on. Every time they rushed, he said, "Oh, it's on," and he counted 41. I was like, "Wow, 41 rushes! I had no idea." And following day, 2. Only 2 times did they do that in the whole lake. I'm watching, I'm listening, I know these birds, and I got 2. And that was because the weather was coming in. It was the Monday before that storm. It was really before that last rain system. So that was interesting. That's something that I was aware of the Santa Ana conditions thing, but I was never aware of it being adverse when before a system comes through. Anyone else? Okay.
And do they stock that lake?
They don't stock Hodges. They do stock Wolford. In the winter time, they stock it with trout, which is kind of weird because they die off. I mean, they're not going to make it through the summer. But that's probably the reason why we have bald eagles at Wolford, because come the time when the chicks are starting to get big, probably a bunch of dead trout floating on the surface.
So are you always shooting with, you have the 100 to 400, is that your lids?
Yeah, okay, so this is my workhorse. I've got the R5. The reason I used to use the 7D, the 7D Mark II, and then I wanted to get a full frame, and the reason I went for this particular camera is because it still had the lens. I'd just buy an adapter, which I did, but I wanted it because of this. That was why I wanted it. I wanted to be able to do what I was showing you. And it brings your photos to a different level when you get down there on the water, this far from the water, for virtually all your shots. I've got some video footage now of, again, it doesn't show in this demonstration, but there's some incredible video footage I was able to get using that same technique. But the stills are amazing. You can just get, being down there, it's great fun, and of course you're right there with it. That was the reason I got this one. Now I have a 1.4 on here, just because it gives me a little extra reach, mainly because there's so much sunlight. It's so bright there, it doesn't matter. You're not going to lose any definition. And because I'm very aware of the activity, I can often get the boat reasonably close. So it's not like a little dot in the distance. We're getting birds doing this reasonably close. So I don't have to worry too much about losing resolution with the ISO being high. And finally, the thing I really like about this configuration is you have the 3 dials, and you can decide what you want to do with them. I've programmed them to be my shutter speed, my ISO, and my aperture, but now also compensation. I could have bought an adapter that didn't have a ring on it, but this adapter has a ring. So now I have those 4 important things I can use. So for example, if I'm shooting the kind of day where I know exactly what's going on, I can set it all up exactly to where it's going to, my settings are going to be exactly where I expect them to be. I set my ISO, set my shutter speed, all manual, set my my aperture, and then I'm shooting where I normally shoot, and something happens over here. It's like, the light's slightly wrong. It's not exactly where it needs to be. Quick access, make that adjustment immediately. Or, oh, oh no, just change the ISO because it's happening really fast, very close. So I'll just bring the ISO up or down. Oh no, you know what? They're closer together, so you know. But you can do this all because it's all there, you know. And the other thing that I would really like with this camera, and by the way, you can't get all the cameras are great now. You know, they all do this. You know, this is I started with Canon, so I'm still using Canon. But they're all doing it, you know. A whole bunch of my friends are using Sonys now. And they're amazing. I'm seeing photographs are just incredible. You know, Nikon's like they're up there now. You know, so but one of the things like this is there's one little button you can press. You can literally change between settings immediately. Oh, I've got slow action now. Okay, oh, it's going to be fast. Just you know. And again, for me, for what I do for nature, a lot to do with speed. Otherwise, you miss a shot. You know. But obviously, that's not an issue with landscape, or not all landscape. But that's why I use this guy. And I always carry a little thing. This thing. I'm usually wandering around like this. But when I do need to use a tripod, I always obviously have to have a little hex and that, so I can unscrew, take this piece off, so that I can use the tripod. That is my equipment. That's it. And my cell phone. Yeah, and the chair. Yes, no, yes, my trusty chair. Yeah. And that's it. And it's amazing. That's what I do, and that's what I get, you know. Anyway, thank you so much.
Brian,
everyone.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know a lot about birds, but I do know somebody who knows their subject. Somebody who knows their subject, who knows their gear, who's put in the time and has some passion. And that's exactly what was my number one takeaway. You're never going to get the shot if you're sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
That is
Absolutely.
absolute truth. And I have a seat on order. That is worth the price of admission right over there, just to learn about that. So thank you so much for coming. He's got his gear up here. If you want to ask questions, chairs need to go in the back. And great seeing you all.
Bruce.
So you had a band that you were playing with the gold? I had intended to take it off.